Hi, my name is Delisa Fields. I am a trainer and quality coordinator with Student Discipline and Behavior Support. And I'm here to present to you a template for SEL groups. So hopefully you will find this video to be informational and that it will also inspire you to coordinate your own social emotional learning groups. So for this particular video, we're going to discuss relationship skills. And I'm going to share with you a template that you can use. You can personalize it, you can customize it, you can use it as a foundation to host or to facilitate your own SEL groups. But for this particular video, we are going to focus on the SEL competency of relationship skills. So just to give you an overview, group circles are essential to teaching social emotional skills. They promote deep connections with your students, and they also address specific issues that affect your students' life, their concerns, and challenges. So one of the things that I have enjoyed about facilitating SEL groups is it offered an opportunity to get to know that student more intimately as opposed to uh, them seated in the classroom engaged in their work. Those SEL groups provide a phenomenal way to connect with your students, which we'll talk about that in a little bit, but it provides a phenomenal way to connect with the students, and it also gives them an outlet. Many of my students look forward to our SEL groups. I facilitated them twice a day, and they look forward to it because the content was rich, it was engaging, and that I endeavored to facilitate a no judgment zone. So hopefully by the time you're done with this video, you will can pick up some tools that you can use, hone in some of what have been a part of my experience that I thought would be helpful to you, and that we can connect with our students on a greater, more meaningful level. So first, let's look at the group purpose. A couple things that we want to look at, first of all, is that um, in terms of our social emotional learning circles, we are still teaching. We may not be using the Chromebook or a textbook, but we are teaching our students how to demonstrate effective listening skills. One of the requirements of participating in an SEL circle is to be an active listener, to pay attention to your teammate, to your partner that's in the circle. And so as students are engaging in our SEL circles, they are demonstrating and they're learning effective listening skills, and we are demonstrating what active listening skills look like. You can also use SEL groups to resolve conflict peacefully. If you've ever taken any of the restorative trainings, you can incorporate that. Many times I've doubled up and conducted SEL groups, but I also included content that would promote restorative practices, repair. We're talking about what has been done, who's been harmed, and how do we repair the damage. And so again, just depending on the kinetics of your group, you can incorporate restorative practices, and you can facilitate an SEL group that has the components of restorative practices. And I think that's the best of both worlds. So restorative groups, social emotional groups also create an inclusive and respectful learning environment. Again, students may not be seated in their desks, but as they're sitting in that circle, we are creating an environment that is welcoming. We are creating an environment where each student feels a part of a community. We are building a community, hence the formation of the group in a circle. Now, of course, we are, at Press anyway, we are virtually learning. And so we're unable to do circles in a physical setting, but eventually we will return to that. And so we want to certainly set up our circles, our groups, so that we're forming circles. So everyone feels a part, everyone feels connected, everyone feels included, and that everyone feels a part of a larger community. And we're also demonstrating respectful learning environments, because I've found in many of you who have and are facilitating groups, you'll find differences of opinions. And so that is a wonderful way in our groups to dive into that and explore differences of opinions, and to demonstrate to the students that it's okay if someone disagrees with you or if you disagree with someone. And so we'll model how to embrace that. And I'll do a series a little bit later dealing with self-awareness, social awareness, or self-management, and we'll incorporate all of that. How do you respond to someone who disagrees with something that you said? And so also in SEL groups, students learn how to advocate for themselves. They learn how to express how they feel. This is very, very important. They learn how to express how they feel in a way that is non-threatening, in a way that is respectful, and in a way that can quite possibly garner the results that they're looking for, or the attention that they're looking for. So why are relationship skills important for our students? Well, they are, let's just make that plain, but relationship skills are not only important for our students, but they're also important for us as humans, as adults, as staff members, as family members, as entrepreneurs, as employees, as employers. Relationship skills are very important. Relationship skills, and I'm going to pull a blog post that I found that I wanted to share. Relationship skills gives that student the ability to establish and maintain healthy and rewarding relationships. Those two principles there are key. As we are teaching our students relationship skills, we are imparting to them the ability to establish and maintain. It's not enough to establish a relationship. Many relationships are established, but to maintain it is where we put the work in, the act of listening, the compromise, the forgiveness, and all of that part, all of those parts of it. So we're not just focusing on establishing a relationship, but how do we maintain it? How do we keep that relationship strong? How do we confront differences of opinions? How do we confront offense or harms that have been done? And so as we're teaching relationship skills in our SEL groups, we have a golden opportunity to draw our students in, to buy them in to the importance of relationship skills and teach them these skills. Listen, that they will use not only in their classroom, not only at the elementary, middle, high school level, collegiate level, but in life. They'll be able to use these relationship skills in business, in their family lives, in the community. So these skills that we're equipping our students with are not just so that they can behave in the classroom or so that they can get through, this COVID pandemic, what have you, but we are looking to impart these skill sets into our students so that they can become a fabric of their DNA, a fabric of their personality, that as they grow and as they develop and they encounter hardship, relationship issues in life, they'll have these skills that they can use to quite possibly and hopefully produce a better outcome. So this is going to include, as we're teaching our students how to build relationship skills and helping them to build relationship skills, it's going to include communicating clearly. Clear communication, that's essential in any relationship. Clear communication. Say what you mean what you say. Everyone has a right to say what you need to say, but you also have consequences, right? That comes behind it, good or bad. Active listening, again, very, very important. Are you present in the conversation? Do you hear me or are you listening? Cooperating, which is important. Resisting inappropriate social pressure. We're teaching them how to negotiate conflict constructively and to seek help or offer help when needed. And so once we can buy our students into the importance of relationship skills, we can begin the impartation of these skills that they will need that can help build safe schools, safe communities, more classrooms that are feasible for learning, and on into hoping that they will these skills will follow them into adulthood and help them become positive contributive members of society. So how do we prepare for our SEL group? And the theme is going to be relationship skills. So the first thing we want to do is set our norms. And so you want to do this to sort of let your students know what the expectations are, even though it's in a judgment-free zone and we're free to talk about our feelings and we're free to be engaged in conversation. We certainly want to put some rules in place. So I thought this was very helpful here, just using the acronyms of groups. Give thoughtful feedback. This is where communication, active listening is going to be very essential. Respect others and their thoughts. I may not agree with you, but I respect what you're saying. I respect how you feel. being on task all the time. This is very important because when you open up for group discussions like this, some of our students have a tendency to try to take it way off course. Sometimes they'll take it to, try to take it to inappropriate things. And so you have to maintain that control of the group. It's a loose control for the most part, but you have to remain in control of that group. Using soft voices, again, even tone. You don't want to agitate anyone, you don't want to offend anyone, and you don't want to create a hostile environment in your groups. And then participate actively. Each group member is expected to actively participate. They're expected to be a part of the conversation. Now, when I say that, and I'm going to talk more about that in a little bit, it doesn't mean that their contribution to the group has to be extensive and lengthy. I've had students who would give me 2 or 3 words. It's okay. Some students are introverted. Some of them have some extreme issues that they're dealing with. And so you don't want to push them beyond their level of comfort. So certainly expect participation, but also watch in terms of the degree to which they can participate and be okay with that. And then stay with your group. In other words, keep that focus that we're talking about, relationship skills, then keep that theme throughout the entire group. Don't venture off to self-management and what's happening in politics and what's happening in your paycheck didn't get, stay within the group. Try to remain focused because your group, you're going to set the stage and they're going to follow you. So we have what we call a feelings check-in, hoping that many of you are familiar with how this works. Before you open your group, you first want to, I usually say, put the pulse, and sort of test the atmosphere, find out where your students are. Because for some SEL groups, what I found is and I'm going to show you the chart in a minute, but you want to listen as the facilitator of that group. You want to actively listen to where your students are in terms of how they're feeling. And so we're going to provide you, which, hopefully you all have access to our feelings chart. Some call it a mood meter. If you need a copy of it, please email me. I will make sure to get you one, get you a digital copy and you can print it. I have several copies. I laminated them because over the course of a school year, things can happen to them, what have you. So, but the feelings chart is based upon emojis and it's divided into 4 quadrants. And you've got the yellow quadrant, you've got which represents high energy. I'm going to show you that in just a few moments. You've got the green quadrant, which represents low energy but high pleasantness. And you've got the blue, which is low energy, low pleasantness. And then you have the red quadrant, which is where you don't want your student to be, but it happens. That red quadrant is going to symbolize a student or staff with high energy, low pleasantness. So as your students are sharing how they feel, make certain not to judge or criticize or make that student feel uncomfortable with how they're feeling. As we're teaching them social emotional learning skills, we want them to share how they feel. We want to know how you are feeling today. And so we're not going to judge them. We're not going to humiliate them or embarrass them or criticize or anything of that nature. We're going to make sure that they feel our circle is a safe place to express how they feel. So make sure each student is heard. You're welcome. And so you want to make sure that each student is heard and that their emotions are respected. And so here you find a copy of the feelings chart or the mood meter. And so as I was stating earlier, you have the 4 quadrants. You've got the red, the yellow, the blue, the green. And in the yellow, high energy, low pleasantness. And we have students who are on 100, right? Or staff, they're angry, or maybe, as the energy lowers a little bit, maybe frustrated, annoyed, but it's still a negative place, a negative emotion, and anxiety, uneasy, insecure. And can I just say this, that with COVID, many of our students and staff are here, probably more times than we need to be, but it's a real place. And then we're moving down to blue. This is low energy, low pleasantness. They may not be feeling well. I've had students say, Miss Fields, I'm just not feeling well. And I get it. And again, it helps me as a staff member to know how to entreat them. I'm not going to expect you to fully participate in healthy active time if you told me in group that you're exhausted, or you're sad, or what have you. I'm going to take that time and we're going to walk, we're going to talk, or we're going to find some way to help move you from green to blue. Okay. From blue to green. So in the green, we have low energy, but high pleasantness. So it's not, they're in a good place. They're kind of calm, low key, chilling, as a lot of them would like to say. Glad, loving, serene, they're peaceful, they're relieved, content, satisfied, relaxed. And then you have students who, and I had just one student who was always in yellow. I'm hyper. His name was Alex. I'm hyper. I'm excited. And trust me, he definitely was in yellow all day. But yeah, you'll have students who are in that yellow place. They're happy, they're glad to be here, and they're excited, and they're cheerful, they're talkative, and all that. So again, it's important to know where your students are. It's also important for you to know where you are as a staff member. Because there are times when I would facilitate circles and I tell my students, hey, today Ms. Fields is feeling exhausted. This is during the time I was in school at finals papers. And I would say, I would model it. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ms. Fields, Mrs. Fields. And today Ms. Fields is exhausted because she was up all night studying. And so then my students have some type of insight into why Mrs. Fields is kind of quiet, why she's just sort of withdrawn. And so they don't have to assume that, well, she doesn't want to talk to me or she doesn't want to help me. They know I've expressed to them, hey, today Mrs. Fields is exhausted, but if you need me, I'm here. I just don't have that high energy today, but I'm good. It's important in terms of building relationship that you know how your peers feel. So you want to build connection before content. So if we've allowed our students to express how they feel. So now we're still working because you just don't want to go straight into the group discussion. You want to build that momentum and build that excitement and build that relationship. So you can talk about relationships, right? So connection before content. My colleagues, we like to talk about this a lot. So you're going to open the door to the group with a topic that all of your students or most of them can relate to. This is why you have to do the footwork, okay? You're going to may have to do some research or look around and do some searching or talk to your colleagues or draw some material from our, support from our Canvas, which we have a wealth of information available for you. So you want to find topics that are meaningful to your students, not so much about you, right? Right now, we may be concerned with when are we going to return to school, or those things that are of concern to us. That's not necessarily a concern for our students. So we want to find content that appeals to them, that will open them up and get them to talk. So remember, as you're looking for these topics, it's not about you. It's not about, oh man, my team sucked last night. Hey, y'all, let's talk about the team, what have you. They may not be interested in football or basketball or whatever your favorite sport is. So you want to find topics that will be more meaningful to your students. And then again, you don't want to judge their responses. You're looking to build a judgment-free zone because you want your students to talk. You want them to open up. You want them to feel free. You want them to feel safe. So I provided you with just a list of icebreakers that you can use relative to relationship skills. Now, in our Canvas course, we're going to have so much material that you can download and print. And then, of course, you can also do your own research and find material that works for you. But just some icebreakers, because remember, your theme here is relationship skills. So you want to search, or you want to you want to provide content, connective content that is relative to your theme. Okay. Remember, stay in the group. So here's one thing I may say. You know what? Good morning, everybody. Everybody's checking in with the feelings. Name one school appropriate thing that you like to do with your friends. So some may say, well, I like to ride my bike. And I may say, well, where do you guys go? You're always looking to explore. Well, where do you go when you ride your bike? Well, we ride the bike around the neighborhood. What sorts of things do you see? Well, we see the candy store or what have you. Well, how many of your friends ride with you? So again, you want to explore and ask lots of questions. You may say, well, what is your family's favorite meal? That was one of my students' favorite. And you have students from all cultures, and it's a great way to learn about different types of foods. Um, what is your family's favorite meal? How often do you all enjoy it? Or what is something that you would like to learn about another culture? So you see how that's building into relationship skills. It's not about them as much as it is about exploring others, people around you. What does your world look like? What do you want your world to look like in the next 10 years? Tell me about a time you did something kind for someone. How did they respond? So you want them, as they're building relationship skills, you want them to start thinking about others, or how their um, conduct react, or how others respond to their conduct. So keep in mind, you want to invite students into the discussion. Let them own it. There may be times, where you're going around the circle clockwise, and another student may say, hey, can I ask Johnny a question about the restaurant that he likes to go to? And so you may find the circle going back counterclockwise. It's okay. You just want them to talk. So let the students own the conversation, but you control it. Be honest in what you observe. Sometimes I have students, as I stated earlier, who are just they're introverted, they're, very shameful, um, or shy, I should say. And so you may say something like, Johnny, I noticed that you frowned when Mary shared that she likes to eat Popeye's chicken. You know, it's just making observation, right? And so what was it, Johnny, that disturbed you? And so Johnny may say, well, when I ate Popeye's chicken sandwich, I got sick, or my mom, whatever. And so again, you're going to open Johnny up because you notice that Johnny exhibited some type of emotion. It may have been a negative emotion, may have been a positive emotion. But you can pull the, hey, Johnny, I noticed that. I noticed, Mary, when Johnny said this, I noticed that you shrugged your shoulders. Can you tell me why? Can you tell me what's going on? Can you tell me what you were thinking? And you build that relationship. You open up that door for the communication. Keep in mind, too, student participation doesn't have to be lengthy. As I stated, some students they're shy. They don't really like to talk in front of people, and so they may say, we don't go anywhere. We just eat the same thing all the time. And you may say, okay, well, thank you for sharing that. And you don't put them on the spot. You don't make them feel uncomfortable. And you make sure you're not responsible for, and we say this in restorative practice, you don't put that student on the compass of shame. What do you mean y'all don't go anywhere to eat? I can't believe, don't your family don't have, please don't do that. Because every culture, every family is different. And some families may be struggling financially, so they may not have the luxury of eating out at Popeyes or Golden, wherever. So, don't, just be very, very mindful not to, be condescending in your questions. And then lastly, if you hold two groups and you find that students are actively engaging in the discussion, then continue that in the next group. I would hold morning groups and then afternoon groups. And sometimes the morning groups will be, and I would set aside 30 to 45 minutes. And if I find that we're really, really, students engaging and we're having really good conversation, then I would say, you know what, guys, this is really good. Let's table this and come back in the afternoon and finish it. And then you know what? They would have so much to look forward to, because if we were talking about something and they've had an opportunity to think about it, I would notice some of them would jot down a couple of things that they wanted to mention, and we would pick that same discussion up in the afternoon. Again, they're going to own it. You stay in control. So in terms of facilitating the group discussion, and we're talking about relationship skills, just a couple things that you want to keep in mind. In developing relationship skills, we're talking about, creating the relationship or establishing it, like we said earlier. How do we perform relationship skills? What does that look like? It's going to look like being compassionate. It's going to look like the way we respond, the way that we're communicating, the way that we're cooperating, and building that connection, and most importantly, maintaining those connections. So as we develop that, we also want to incorporate, performing whatever duties are needed, the maintenance, the housekeeping for a relationship. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm performing housekeeping. I'm establishing relationship, but I also want to maintain the relationship. I don't want to just speak to you today and then don't speak to you for another 2 weeks. Then I've got to start all over. So I want to continue to form housekeeping so that we can continue to build on the momentum of the relationship. And then once we've got a good relationship, let's maintain it. Let's do the work. So you may want to, and you have your own liberty here, and you can certainly refer to our Caring Schools curriculum for content as well. In terms of our quote discussion, you want to find a quote that is relative to relationship skills. And so this is just a Pinterest search, which I have pinned a lot of them. And, you would find a quote that speaks to your theme, and then you build a discussion around that. So my quote here by Alan Loco says, honor your relationships by developing listening skills. And this is just one I just pulled out of the blue. And this may be for an older group, right? For a younger group, you may want to have something that appeals to them. But for an older group, So what I would do is read the quote, because you're not certain where one is in terms of pronouncing words. And we don't want our students on the compass of shame, at least not at our expense. So I would read the quote, and I would read it clearly. I would read it slowly so that I can elicit some thought, provoke some thoughts there. And then I say, okay, let's read it together, or let's read it as a group. Honor your relationships by developing listening skills. And so then we're going to explore, what does it mean to honor your relationship? Which relationship do you have that is worth honor? How does honoring a relationship with your mom looks like, or with your dad, or with Miss Brown, your PE teacher? How does that look? How do we honor? And then we move to the second part of the quote, by developing listening skills. What does that look like? What is helpful to you when you're expressing something and you want to be heard? What does that look like? How does it make you feel when you're concerned about something and you have someone who is listening? And then again, you're just asking all sorts of questions. And you can either jot down questions, or if you been doing this for a while, they just may roll off your head, right? Sort of like, if I could give you it sort of would put you in the mind of a TV host. Say the Dr. Phil or somebody, he's on the chair and he wants to get information out of his guests. So he's just asking questions and they're opening up, and he's non-judgmental. He may provide direction, provide some feedback, but for the most part, he's allowing that person to just open up and share. So you read the quote, have your student read the quote, you explore the quote, and then you discuss the quote. Now, you don't have to use a quote. I've done, and I'm going to provide some more examples here in a little while, but you can use a picture. And you can have students in my shift class, we have a picture, and we'll build a discussion around one picture. What does that mean? What is that, those words on his shirt? What is that saying? Look at her facial expression. Look at his posture. And you could build a discussion around the picture as well. So use your creative liberty. Again, these are just templates, just some ideas to get your creative juices flowing, and you can make your group your own. So as you prepare to close out your group, you want to do a feelings check-in again, because based upon the content, I've had some groups where they talked about, discussed content that may have been disturbing, especially if someone has just lost a loved one. And then you have another group member saying, well, my mom and dad took me to Disney World and we stayed at the, and we did this and we did. And then you have another student who parents may be facing eviction or, loss of employment. And so you want to monitor that. You want to always remember, stay in your group. You're listening, you're watching. There's a lot of work in facilitating group. It's not just talking, but you really want to be present and pay attention to everything. Listen to what they're saying, listen to what they're not saying. Pay attention to the movements, the little fidgety movements. Pay attention, because movement is communication as well. Behavior is communication. So, as you're closing out the group, you're going to follow the same steps as you checked in. You're going to be non-judgmental, but you're going to model the checkout. So in other words, my name is Ms. Fields. We've had a great group. I am feeling, I'm in the yellow. I'm feeling excited. Little Johnny, where are you? How do you feel? Well, my name is Johnny, and right now I'm just feeling sad because my parents can't afford Disney World. And so I'm not going to respond because we're closing out the group. So if you respond right there, you're going to, depending on what your time frame looks like, you may end up going to another group. So I'm going to note what Johnny said, that I'm in the blue, I'm feeling sad. So to the group, I'm going to say, thank you, Johnny, for sharing. And I'm going to acknowledge that I heard him, but I'm not going to engage that in the group. After the group has been dismissed and you return them to wherever, I'm going to say, hey, Johnny, can we have a few words? And then I'm going to take that time to have a one-on-one with Johnny. So I heard you say that you were sad because X, Y, Z. Let's talk about that, okay? And so you want to because you want to get him out of that blue. You want to walk him out of the blue. And either, you may not get him to yellow, but you can certainly get him into the green to where he can be at peace. It may not be a good situation, but he's at peace. Okay. So so even after the group, there's work. You're monitoring and you're watching to make sure that your students are going to be okay based upon the conversation. So pay attention to negative emotions after your discussion. Okay, and there's the feelings chart here. So again, you may not be able to move Johnny here, but you can get him here. You know, he's sad that he can't get Disney World, but by the time you finish talking to him and motivated him, he says, you know what, you're right. There's always tomorrow. Or, you know, we can go any other time, or what have you. You just want to get him across the street, okay? Emotionally, get him across the street. All right, so I hope that this template for relationship skills has been beneficial to you. We have more material coming, but if you have any questions or if you would like my assistance in building an SEL lesson plan, you know, of your own, please reach out. This is my number, 980-344-0401. This is my email. You can contact me anytime. I'm located in SPA Central Office, SDBS. You can reach me anytime. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to leave this here for a minute. If you could provide some feedback, I don't know how tech savvy you all are, but if you would focus your camera on this QR code, a survey is going to pop up on your screen, and there are about maybe, I don't know, 6, 7 questions. I'm just looking for feedback because we certainly want to make sure that the resources that we're providing to the department, to the district, is helpful and is meaningful. And so we are certainly looking for your feedback. How can we improve the service that we provide to you? What suggestions do you have moving forward? What worked? What didn't work? We'd love to hear that from you. So just take a few moments and complete that survey, and you will be all done. Well, listen, I certainly appreciate you taking the time to view this video on SEL Group Starters for Relationship Skills. We have much more material to come, and so stay tuned. If you need anything from us, please don't hesitate to reach out to either myself, Mr. Spillman, or Mr. Moses Ball. We would be more than happy to help you. Okay, take care.